This webinar was recorded for subrecipients of the Tennessee Strong Families Grant on May 7th, 2026. The webinar explained how consumer behavior is influenced in supermarkets and grocery stores, identified marketing strategies used in grocery stores, and explained ways to save money when shopping for groceries and other items. The slides and reference materials are posted on our webpage for your reference and review. All right, so today our presenter, Dr. Christopher Sneed, is a tenured associate professor and consumer economics specialist at UT. He began his UT career as an employment career specialist and has since served in roles including extension agent, SNAP Ed, social marketing specialist, acting director of SNAP Ed, and assistant professor. He now leads statewide extension programs in consumer economics for youth and adults. His work focuses on behavioral economics, workforce development, financial capability, and family resource management. Dr. Sneed also serves as the co-principal investigator of Skill Up Tennessee, UT Extension's SNAP Employment and Training Initiative, and he was promoted with tenure in 2024 and is nationally recognized for his contributions to teaching, research, and service. He's authored over 40 peer-reviewed articles, 80 extension publications, and has secured more than $36 million in external funding for UT Extension. Dr. Sneed remains active in the academic community through peer review, professional service, and leadership in national extension and consumer economics organizations.
All right, you all, thank you so much and welcome. It's good to have everyone here with us today while we talk about a very timely topic, and that is grocery store savings. Who doesn't want to save money at the grocery store today? One of the things to get us started that I wanted to do was to actually start with a quote that I heard recently when I was preparing for this presentation. Someone actually said that you never make decisions at the grocery store. In fact, those decisions are made for you. So somebody give me a yes or a no or a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Do you agree with this statement? What do you think when you hear that? Do you agree? Give me a thumbs up. If you disagree, thumbs down, or say yes and no in the chat. What are your thoughts to this
Lots of
statement?
thumbs up, and then Kathy says, I agree to a point.
Oh, good point. Well, I'll tell you, I've been very interested in this idea that we really, as consumers, don't make the decisions for ourselves when we get into a store like a grocery store. And probably what started my interest in this was back in graduate school. My research has been in the areas of retail, hospitality, and tourism. Particularly, I've been interested in retail, and food retail has been the particular interest that I've focused on. And one of the things that we used to talk about was this idea of shopper marketing or in-store marketing. And you can think of it as those tricky little things that grocery stores do, all stores do it to an extent, to get us to spend money and make decisions that we probably would not make if they had not manipulated the environment or manipulated the layout in a certain way. And so we're going to talk about those today as we go through the presentation. In fact, today's presentation is going to center around a video. It's a video that looks at 40 things that supermarkets are doing to help us and to persuade us, rather, to spend more money. We're going to watch the first 20. We'll pause. We'll talk about those. Then we'll watch the next 20, and then we'll wrap up and talk about those. But to get us started, I do want to share an example of some resources that we've pulled together through UT Extension that are friendly resources that you can use with your participants. And I do believe that Chase is going to be putting the link into the chat. That will be a handout that lists all of these publications that talk about how to save money at the grocery store. All the publications can be downloaded for free, and you're welcome to distribute them as you see fit and as you deem necessary. All of these are written on a very basic reading level, so individuals can get the information that I'm going to be sharing with you today during this presentation. As always, as we go through the presentation, please feel free to unmute and ask questions. Please feel free to drop questions in the chat. I probably won't be able to see a lot of you, but I definitely welcome any and all questions that you have as we talk about stretching our food dollar aisle by aisle and saving our hard-earned money at the grocery store. So to get us started, we're going to start out with our video to really look at what supermarkets are doing. And then we're going to stop and we'll talk about what the marketing tactics and tricks are that they're doing. I would encourage you, as we're watching this video, I want you to identify at least three things that you think are very interesting that you might have noticed or that you might have not thought of before. So we'll get started out with numbers 1 through 20.
They sell decisions, and most of the time they're making those decisions for you. The fresh displays, the limited deals, the glowing meat, the giant carts, the cozy bakery smell, none of it is random. In this video, we're breaking down 40 lies about supermarkets and grocery stores that shape what you buy, how much you spend, and why you always leave with more than you planned. 1. You probably think the colorful cartoon mascots on cereal boxes are just cute, harmless drawings meant to make the packaging look friendly. Those cheerful rabbits and goofy tigers are actually executing a terrifyingly precise psychological attack on your children. If you examine a cereal aisle, you will notice that the mascots on the middle shelves are never looking straight ahead. Their eyes are mathematically angled downward at exactly a 65-degree angle. This ensures they make direct, hypnotic eye contact with any toddler sitting in a shopping cart. It is a calculated visual connection designed to create an instant emotional bond, practically forcing your child to scream for that specific sugary cereal. 2. Smelling that warm, buttery scent of freshly baked bread at the entrance surely means a master baker has been up since dawn kneading dough. In reality, you are being legally gaslit by the store ventilation system. Most modern supermarkets have not baked a loaf from scratch in decades. Instead, they use a psychological trick called scent marketing, intentionally pumping the exhaust from reheated frozen factory dough directly toward the sliding glass doors. Sometimes they even use artificial aerosol sprays that just smell like baked goods. A rumbling stomach completely overrides your financial common sense, ensuring you leave with 24 stale cookies you never planned to buy. 3. Pushing around an oversized metal shopping cart feels completely normal because chains are just accommodating your growing household needs. That massive carriage is actually a subtle psychological trap designed to mess with your spatial awareness. Over the last few decades, shopping carts have ballooned in size by over 50% for one extremely specific reason. An empty cart makes you feel incredibly guilty. When you put 3 essential items into a cart the size of a small minivan, your brain automatically registers a sense of scarcity. It looks pathetic. To fix this invisible discomfort, you subconsciously keep grabbing random items off the shelves just to fill the yawning void. 4. Paying top dollar for the thick steaks resting inside the butcher display case guarantees you are getting a vastly superior quality of meat. This is an absolute comedy masterpiece played strictly on your wallet. That supposedly elite meat behind the glass is literally the exact same grade of beef sitting in the cheap styrofoam trays just 10 feet away down the aisle. The supermarket simply unwrapped it, tossed it on some fake decorative parsley, and cranked up the price by 30%. You are happily paying a massive luxury tax simply for the privilege of making a guy wearing a bloody apron wrap it in brown paper for you. It is pure culinary theater designed to drain your budget. 5. Pouring a glass of premium store-bought orange juice labeled as 100% pure means you are drinking fresh fruit squeezed right into a carton. That sunny breakfast staple is actually a heavily engineered liquid zombie. To keep the juice from spoiling over the entire year, manufacturers strip all the oxygen out of it in massive storage vats. This brutal process completely destroys the natural flavor and aroma of the fruit. To make it taste like an orange again before shipping, they inject secret flavor packs created by the exact same chemical companies that formulate designer perfumes. You are gulping down a perfectly legal, artificially reanimated beverage designed in a fragrance laboratory. 6. Rolling your cart across those smooth, perfectly uniform floor tiles ensures a quiet and peaceful shopping experience. If you actually look down, you will realize the floor is aggressively manipulating your walking speed. The expensive aisles, like the wine and gourmet cheese sections, use significantly smaller tiles. When your wheels roll over the numerous grout lines, it makes a rapid, loud clicking noise. This auditory illusion tricks your brain into thinking you are walking way too fast, causing you to subconsciously slow down. As you decrease your speed to stop the annoying clicking, you spend more time staring at high-priced luxury items you normally would have ignored entirely. 7. Spotting a strict limit. 4 per customer sign on a stack of canned soup means there is a massive national shortage and you better stock up right now. This is nothing but a brilliant theatrical performance by store managers. There is no supply chain crisis for beef stew. Supermarkets use these signs to trigger an aggressive sense of artificial scarcity in your primitive lizard brain. The moment you are told you cannot have something, you suddenly feel a desperate need to hoard it. If they just put the cans on sale, you might buy one single unit. But by pretending they are running out and restricting your access, you will angrily buy all 4 just to prove you beat the system. 8. Placing your groceries on the thick black conveyor belt at the checkout lane keeps your food clean because of its sanitary material. That slowly moving runway is actually one of the most disgusting surfaces in your entire town. Supermarkets deliberately chose a dark, matte black rubber, not because it repels bacteria, but because it acts as an incredible visual cloaking device for absolute filth. It masterfully hides the sticky residue of 1,000 leaking meat packages, spilled milk, and crushed berries. If that belt were painted a sterile hospital white, you would probably scream and refuse to set your fresh produce anywhere near it. You are blindly trusting a carpet of hidden grime. 9. Marveling at a towering, majestic pyramid of fresh oranges in the produce section makes you feel like the store is overflowing with an endless bounty. In reality, you are staring at an impressive feat of cardboard engineering. Supermarkets want you to feel a sense of overwhelming abundance, which makes you want to buy more. But stacking hundreds of real citrus fruits would crush the ones at the bottom into a sad, sticky pulp. Instead, they use a massive hidden hollow base, carefully covering it with a single fragile layer of actual fruit. It is essentially a grocery store magic trick. Pulling the wrong piece of fruit will completely collapse a carefully balanced illusion. 10. Buying the generic store brand cereal means you are settling for a cheap, low-quality knockoff just to save a few pennies. Prepare to feel completely betrayed by the breakfast industry. In the vast majority of cases, those 2 supposedly rival products are manufactured in the exact same factory by the exact same workers, using the exact same recipe. The only difference happens at the very end of the conveyor belt, where they slap a boring cardboard box on one and a flashy, expensive cartoon box on the other. You are literally paying a massive premium just to finance the marketing budget of a corporate giant. You think you have refined taste, but you are just falling for a packaging prank. 11. Accepting a free cheese cube on a toothpick from a friendly employee is just a harmless way to discover a delicious new snack. That smiling worker is actually executing a highly effective guilt trip on a microscopic scale. Supermarkets do not set up tasting stations out of culinary generosity. They are exploiting the powerful human, psychological need for reciprocity. When a stranger looks you in the eye and hands you a piece of food for free, your brain immediately feels a deep, uncomfortable social obligation to return the favor. To relieve this heavy, invisible debt, you will instinctively buy a $10 box of mediocre crackers you never even wanted in the first place. 12. Finding a proud grade A stamp on your carton of eggs feels like you just upgraded to some elite, gourmet poultry tier. You picture inspectors in lab coats holding eggs up to dramatic lighting like they're judging diamonds. The truth is hilariously boring. Grade A mostly refers to appearance. The shell isn't cracked, the egg has a decent shape, and the whites are firm enough to look normal when cracked. It doesn't mean luxury. It doesn't mean better nutrition. It doesn't mean the chicken listened to Mozart. It simply means the egg passed basic visual standards and is fit for sale. You're not buying aristocratic breakfast royalty. You're buying an egg that survived quality control without embarrassing itself. 13. Grabbing a fancy plastic tray of supermarket sushi means you are eating a meal carefully rolled this morning by a trained culinary master. It is time to wake up from this delicious delusion. That spicy tuna roll was not crafted by an artisan who spent 10 years studying under a Japanese chef. It was likely assembled by a machine in a massive freezing facility, or quickly slapped together by the exact same teenager who just finished stocking the toilet paper aisle. The fish itself has been frozen solid to kill parasites, which is good, but it certainly did not jump out of the ocean today. You are paying restaurant prices for a glorified cold rice sandwich made by a bored employee. 14. Rushing toward a bright yellow or red sticker on a shelf guarantees that the item has been heavily discounted for a spectacular weekly sale. We have been trained like Pavlovian dogs to spot these flashy neon tags and immediately assume we are scoring an unbeatable bargain. In reality, supermarkets frequently print the exact same standard retail price on a brightly colored piece of paper just to grab your attention. This deceptive practice exploits your visual reflexes, completely bypassing your critical thinking. You will gleefully throw a box of crackers into your cart simply because the tag was shouting at you in a primary color, completely oblivious that you saved $0. 15. Admiring the flawlessly decorated birthday cakes in the bakery window makes you believe they were baked from scratch this morning. Prepare to have your childhood memories shattered. Those towering monuments of frosting were baked months ago in a gigantic industrial factory hundreds of miles away. They are flash frozen into rock-solid sugar bricks and shipped in the back of a freezing truck. The bakery department simply unboxes them, lets them thaw out, and slaps on a fresh layer of hyper-colored sugary spackle to hide the truth. You are not buying a fresh, artisanal masterpiece for your family party. You are serving a beautifully defrosted sponge that has been hibernating since winter. 16. That perfectly golden, suspiciously affordable rotisserie chicken sitting under the warm lights feels like a generous gift from the grocery gods. In reality, it's one of the smartest traffic magnets in the entire building. Stores often price these birds aggressively to pull you deep into the back of the store, where you'll pass a maze of higher-margin temptations on the way. And yes, sometimes they use inventory that needs to move quickly. Not spoiled, not unsafe, just close enough to its sell-by window to deserve a glow-up. The roasting process transforms it into something irresistible. The smell does the rest. You walked in for milk. You're leaving with a chicken, garlic bread, dessert, and somehow a new set of placemats. 17. Navigating the chaotic wall of candy bars and sugary tabloids at the checkout lane is a layout designed purely to tempt whiny toddlers. Actually, supermarket executives are not targeting your crying 3-year-old. They are actively preying on your exhausted adult brain. This area is scientifically known as the decision fatigue zone. By the time you finally navigate the maze of aisles, decipher deceptive price tags, and dodge aggressive shopping carts, your willpower is completely obliterated. You literally lack the cognitive energy to say no anymore. Placing high-profit chocolate bars exactly where you are forced to stand still is a trap, proving that adults are incredibly easy to manipulate. 18. Reaching for an incredibly shiny, mirror-like piece of fruit is a clear sign that nature has provided a perfectly healthy, ripe snack. Unless you live in a cartoon, fruit does not naturally reflect your face. That intense artificial gloss is actually a heavy coating of carnauba wax, which is the exact same substance used to polish expensive sports cars. When fruits are picked, they are violently washed, which removes their natural dull coating. To make them look like magical, irresistible treats, the store sprays them with car wax to seal in the moisture. This wax armor allows the produce to sit in cold storage for nearly a year before it actually reaches your kitchen table. 19. Walking past the vibrant floral department located right at the entrance is a lovely way for the store to cheer you up and welcome you. You probably think the manager just loves a beautiful bouquet, but this is a deeply calculated psychological ambush known as priming. By forcing you to walk past brightly colored, incredibly fragrant flowers the second you walk inside, the store is tricking your brain into associating the entire building with absolute freshness and nature. Once your mind is convinced that everything here is wholesome, you drop your guard. You are vastly more likely to load your cart with highly processed junk food because the flowers gave you a false sense of health. 20. Enduring a massive line because the supermarket only opened 2 checkout lanes during rush hour means they are tragically understaffed. This is actually a deliberate, agonizing form of crowd control. The store manager is not sitting in the back crying over a lack of employees. They intentionally keep the lines moving at a microscopic crawl to trap you in the impulse buy zone. The longer you stand completely still, staring blankly at the chewing gum and overpriced mints, the more likely you are to surrender and buy them out of sheer boredom. You think you are suffering through a frustrating logistical failure, but you are actually a captive audience generating pure corporate revenue.
All right, we'll stop there for just a second and talk about these. So go ahead and drop in the chat. What were some of the things that were very interesting to you? What was very, very interesting to you? Go ahead and drop that in the chat. Did you find something that was new that you didn't know? Ah, the floor tiles. Yeah, Brooke, think about it. Go into Kroger especially, and you will notice those floor tiles change up. Oh, the eyes on the character eyes, that's a little freaky. I will agree there, Brittany. Yeah, really, really freaky, Becky, the character eyes. Yes, we I was reading a little bit about the shelf height. About 4 to 5 feet is perfect for female shoppers. That's the prime zone. That is the prime zone for things to be sold. That's eye level. Eye level, they say, is buy level in the industry. The fake scent, very much so. Yeah, the artificial smells and the wax. It is amazing. One of the things to realize is the grocery store industry is a very low margin industry, meaning that they're trying to make pennies on the dollar sometimes, and they're wanting to do anything that they can to get us to spend more and to buy more different items. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we saw in the video. One of the things that you have to do is, as a shopper, you have to think about how can I get into this store and out of this store as quickly as possible. The more time you spend in a grocery store, the more money you're going to spend. It is research and it is proven. Really, you need to check your pantry before you leave, create a menu, and create a list. Of course, don't go hungry. Eat before you leave, even if it's just peanut butter and crackers. And of course, no, it's not possible for everyone, but if you can leave your kids at home, it is going to be a much better shopping experience because grocery stores know that if we can get children wanting something, the parents are likely to just give in to them out of sheer frustration and buy them what they're wanting. Again, going back to those cereal boxes that are staring at the kids as they're going down the cereal aisle. So start with a plan before you even enter the store. I would say start with a plan before you even leave home. I would encourage you, as we think about that eye level being buy level, to really think about looking high and low on the shelves. You're typically going to find your best buys at the bottom of the shelves and at the top of the shelves. Manufacturers pay a slotting fee. They actually pay for their products to be right there at eye level because they know they sell so well. So again, you will find those cheaper products and typically those better buys not at that eye level, but you'll have to look up and you'll have to look down for those. One of the things that I would encourage you to do is to really look at shopping store brands. And I think it's important that we understand the history of store brands and generic brands. Back in the day, I can remember as a kid, we would go to the grocery store and you would see what you see right there on your screen right now. You would see the generics. Generics were basically just white boxes with black print, and they would say something like cheese, corn, applesauce, fruit. No frills, nothing at all. Many times these products were not very good in terms of their quality and their taste. What happened though is around the 1990s, grocery stores started to realize that, hey, we can actually come up with some of our own private label items. And we can make these private label items in agreement many times with the name brand manufacturers. and have them be the same quality or even better quality than a name brand item. So we have seen generics really transform themselves from these boring black and white packages that, oh, we really didn't want, to now store brand items that are actually of very good quality and can save us anywhere from 10% to 30% just by buying those store brands. It is important, though, that when we're shopping the meat section that we do so strategically. Meat is one of the items that grocery stores can make their most money off of. That is why the meat department is at the very back of the store. They know that meat has this drawing power for consumers. When we come in the door, in order to get to that meat section, we have to go through so many different products, so many opportunities for us to spend more money. Because remember, again, the longer you're in the store, the more likely it is that you're going to spend money. In fact, research has shown that many consumers are loyal to particular grocery stores simply based upon their meat department and how well they think that their meat products are in terms of quality and in terms of price. You will typically find your best markdowns on meat if you shop early in the morning. And you also need to think about how you can shop in bulk for meat products, particularly if they're on sale. Buy them in those family size packs and then break them apart to freeze them. That will help you actually save money. It will also help you take this really large package that maybe if you're a family or one or two of three, that you don't need all of those at once, but you can break them down over the course of a week, over the course of a couple of weeks, and really have some savings. And then, of course, I think it is important for us to rethink our diet sometimes. In the typical American diet, we build an entire meal around the meat first. We always think, what's the meat? And then what's the sides? We really need to flip that thinking and think about, okay, what side dishes do I want? And then how can I have some kind of meat to go along with it? So meat doesn't become the central focus of the meal because it is so expensive, but it just becomes part of the meal. And that way we can look at smaller portions and also look at perhaps other meat alternatives, including beans, legumes, and even also looking at poultry and fish instead of red meat, which typically tends to be a bit more costly. One of the things that I will point out, and they did say in the video, is you're going to see a lot of these primary colors on the shelf tags. These reds, these oranges, these yellows. But even though those colors are designed to kind of draw you in and make you want to purchase, those shelf tags contain some very valuable information. The best thing that you can do in the grocery store is to really look at the unit price. And in fact, we have a whole publication just on unit pricing that's included in that list that Chase put into the chat. The unit price is your way to find the best value for your money. That unit price lets you see what a true bargain is because you're comparing price based on a standard unit, price per ounce, price per pound. What we need to realize is the bigger size is not always the better value. And the only way to really know what is the best value is to really look at that unit price. It can save you a lot of money when you're grocery shopping. So, with that said, I want us to look at the last 20 quote unquote lies that supermarkets tell us and see as we go through, again, what are three very interesting things that you did not know. Now, I do think it's worth noting the narrator of the video does use a little bit of exaggerated language sometimes, but I think that the message still rings very true. There are a lot of sly marketing tactics that are going on. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my presentation and I'll reshare the video as we watch the final 20, and we'll come back and discuss those in just a little bit.
21. Staring at the expiration date on a bottle of spring water feels oddly dramatic. Water going bad? Seriously. The truth is less about the liquid and more about the container. The date typically reflects quality expectations for the plastic bottle over time, especially if it's stored in heat or sunlight. It's not that the water suddenly mutates at midnight like a dairy product with attitude. It's about long-term material stability and taste standards. But psychologically, that printed date makes you treat water like it's a ticking time bomb. Billions of years on Earth, and suddenly it's on a countdown because it lives in a bottle. 22. Scooping snacks from those massive, colorful gravity bins of loose candy and trail mix is a fun, hygienic way to perfectly customize your portion. Let me absolutely ruin your appetite right now. Those open-air bulk bins are essentially an unregulated petting zoo for germs. Think about how many unwashed hands, coughing customers, and wandering toddlers have directly interacted with those supposedly pristine chocolate almonds before you got there. Even the scoops are a biological nightmare, passed from sweaty palm to sweaty palm all day long. When you buy from the bulk section, you are aggressively volunteering to eat a random sample of the neighborhood DNA, paying a premium by the pound. 23. That little loyalty card on your keychain feels like a friendly membership badge. Swipe it, save 30 cents, feel victorious. But behind that cheerful beep is a mountain of purchasing data being neatly organized into patterns. What brands you prefer, how often you shop, whether you suddenly switch to oat milk. Stores analyze this information to refine pricing strategies, promotions, and inventory decisions. It's less, "we love you," and more, "we love predictable behavior." You're not just earning points. You're participating in a beautifully efficient feedback loop where your habits help shape the shelves you see next week. 24. Enjoying the automatic mist spraying over the fresh produce section proves the store wants to keep your vegetables crisp and lasting longer. It looks refreshing, like a tiny rainforest in the middle of the store, but it is an elaborate illusion. That theatrical water spray does absolutely nothing to extend the shelf life of your lettuce. In fact, excess moisture often encourages mold and makes vegetables rot much faster once you get them home. The true purpose of this periodic indoor rainstorm is simply to make the produce look shiny and appetizing. Furthermore, vegetables soak up that water like sponges, meaning you are handing over cash for overpriced tap water disguised as food weight. 25. Ordering a beautiful fillet of salmon resting gently on a bed of crushed ice means that fish was swimming in the ocean just hours ago. This picturesque maritime display is a complete fairy tale. That supposedly fresh catch of the day has likely been frozen completely solid for weeks, if not months, in a giant industrial freezer. The employees simply thaw it out in a backroom sink and drape it romantically over the ice to make you feel like a rugged fisherman just delivered it. The truly absurd part is that the frozen fish in the freezer aisle is often exactly the same product, just much cheaper. You are happily paying a massive premium simply for decorative frozen water. 26. Ignoring the random colored twist ties on bags of sliced bread is easy because they are just a fun packaging choice from the factory. You are actually looking at a secret grocery store calendar hiding in plain sight. Each color strictly represents the specific day of the week that the bread was baked. Blue is for Monday, green is for Tuesday, and so on. The supermarket leaves the older colors on the shelf, hoping you are too distracted to notice you are buying a stale loaf. They intentionally never put up a sign explaining this rainbow code because they need you to buy the older bread first. You are playing a high-stakes game of bakery roulette every time you make a sandwich. 27. Stopping at those massive product displays at the very end of the aisles guarantees you are finding the best clearance sales and weekly discounts. We naturally assume these end caps are a reward for navigating the store, offering us massive savings on bulk items. The reality is that these displays are just full-price trickery. Grocery brands pay exorbitant advertising fees to rent these specific shelves because they know you are too lazy to walk down the actual aisle. The items sitting there are rarely discounted at all. You are just tossing a painfully expensive bottle of ketchup into your cart simply because it was conveniently located right where you had to turn your cart around. 28. Eating from the glowing, beautifully arranged salad bar provides a premium oasis of healthy, farm-fresh vegetables chopped just for you. This is actually a brilliantly disguised recycling center for dying produce. When the bell peppers and tomatoes in the regular aisle get a little too wrinkly or bruised to sell at full price, they do not throw them away. They just chop off the ugly rotting spots, dice them into tiny cubes, and toss them into the salad bar under sneeze guards. You are literally paying an insanely high price per pound for the exact same vegetables you rejected yesterday because they looked sad. It is the ultimate retail magic trick, turning garbage into a luxury lunch. 29. Picking up a small plastic hand basket by the door is a kind gesture for people who only need to grab a few quick items for dinner. Do not fall for this seemingly innocent convenience. Supermarkets intentionally design those baskets to be awkwardly small and incredibly uncomfortable to carry. After tossing in a heavy jug of milk and some apples, the thin plastic handles painfully dig into your forearms. This physical discomfort is a calculated trap. Once your arm starts aching, you will inevitably surrender. Dump your basket into a massive metal shopping cart and suddenly feel obligated to fill up all that empty space. They literally cause you minor physical pain to triple your budget. 30. Shopping in the earthy, green-toned, organic aisle feels like entering an independent sanctuary completely separate from giant junk food megacorporations. This is perhaps the greatest inside joke the grocery industry has ever pulled on us. If you trace the parent companies of those incredibly expensive, bird seed-filled health bars, you will quickly realize they are owned by the exact same massive conglomerates that make the artificially colored, sugar-packed soda 2 aisles over. They deliberately create a fake rustic packaging vibe to make you feel like a superior, health-conscious warrior. You are just handing your money to the exact same billionaire executives for a picture of a leaf. 31. Believing the supermarket occasionally reorganizes its entire layout to make your shopping experience more logical and modern is a huge mistake. The manager is not moving the peanut butter because it looks better next to the jelly. They shuffle the aisles specifically to destroy your mental map of the store. When you know exactly where your favorite items are, you get in and out too quickly. By completely scrambling the locations every few years, they force you to wander aimlessly like a lost tourist. While you are desperately hunting for the oatmeal, you are dragged past hundreds of brightly colored impulse items you never planned to buy. They are weaponizing your absolute confusion. 32. Those charming egg cartons decorated with red barns and blissful hens, roaming cartoon pastures create a cinematic farm fantasy. Words like farm fresh, natural, and even cage-free sound reassuringly wholesome. The reality is more complex. Many of these terms have specific definitions, and some refer to housing systems that are still large-scale commercial operations, just different layouts. Cage-free doesn't automatically mean open fields under blue skies. It often means indoor environments without individual cages. It's not necessarily sinister. It's just not the postcard image printed on the box. The packaging tells a comforting story. The supply chain tells a more industrial one. 33. That bright, crisp supermarket lighting feels purely functional. Just there, so you can read labels without squinting. But lighting design inside grocery stores is practically theatrical. Different departments often use subtly tuned color temperatures to make products look more vibrant. Slightly warmer tones can enhance the appearance of baked goods. Red-tinted lighting can make meat appear richer. Cooler lighting can make seafood look fresher. It's not deception in the dramatic sense. It's presentation strategy. The same steak can look dramatically different under kitchen lighting at home. In-store, everything gets its best spotlight moment. 34. Peeling off that tiny sticker from your apple sometimes feels like defusing a bomb. What if you accidentally swallow it? Relax. Those fruit labels are designed to be food safe. The adhesives and materials are regulated for incidental ingestion. No one's suggesting you toss them into a salad for fun. But accidentally eating one won't launch a chemical disaster inside you. The real irony? People will scrub the sticker off obsessively while barely thinking about washing off actual surface residues from transport and handling. The sticker isn't the villain, it's just the most visible thing to blame. 35. Buying those incredibly convenient plastic tubs of pre-cut fruit is the perfect, healthy time saver for a busy lifestyle. You're actually paying an astronomical luxury tax for a terrifyingly unsanitary knife job. Supermarkets charge you up to 3 times the normal price per pound just because someone else chopped a pineapple. Even worse, those pristine melon cubes are often salvaged from bruised, aging fruit that was too ugly to sell whole on the main display. They simply cut away the rotting spots, slice up the surviving chunks, and trap them in a sweaty plastic prison. By piercing the skin, they drastically accelerate bacterial growth, making you pay a premium for deteriorating fruit. 36. Complaining that the entire supermarket feels like an Arctic tundra simply because they need to keep the frozen foods from melting is missing the point. That is an absolute lie that makes you shiver for no reason. Only the refrigerated cases actually need to be cold. Store managers deliberately blast the air conditioning throughout the entire building to manipulate your primal instincts. When humans feel freezing cold, our brains subconsciously trigger an ancient survival mode that makes us crave warm, calorie-dense comfort foods. You walked in wanting a light summer salad, but the simulated blizzard makes you panic and buy heavy stews, massive blocks of cheese, and thick chocolate cakes. 37. Waiting at the deli counter feels sophisticated. You watch an employee carefully slice meat to your requested thickness like it's a culinary performance. It feels customized, artisanal, superior. But in many cases, those large deli logs being fed into the slicer are produced by the same major food manufacturers that supply the pre-packaged versions in the refrigerated aisle. The difference isn't necessarily quality, it's perception. Watching it sliced in front of you creates a sense of freshness and control. You didn't just grab something, you ordered it. And somehow that act alone makes it feel more premium. 38. Confidently tapping a giant watermelon in the middle of the store and listening for a hollow thump is the scientific way to find a ripe one. You look incredibly professional doing it, but you are just playing the world's dumbest drum solo. That hollow sound actually means the fruit is overripe, the water inside has started to evaporate, and the flesh has turned into a mushy, mealy nightmare. You are actively searching for the worst melon in the pile. The only real way to tell if a watermelon is perfectly ripe is to look for a massive, ugly yellow spot on the bottom where it rested in the dirt. You are proudly marching home with a dry, sandy disaster while the sweet melons sit ignored. 39. Seeing shelves perfectly faced with products pulled neatly to the front gives you the comforting illusion of abundant freshness. It feels like everything was just stocked moments ago. In reality, employees often rotate inventory so older products move forward while newer shipments are placed behind them. This isn't some dark conspiracy. It's standard stock rotation to reduce waste. But visually, it creates a clean wall of goods that hides the depth behind it. You assume the front equals newest. Not always. Sometimes the freshest box is quietly waiting 3 rows back while you confidently grab the one that's been posing for you all week. 40. Receiving a long, colorful strip of coupons printed on the back of your receipt is a personalized gift to help you save money on your favorite brands. That piece of paper is actually a highly sophisticated psychological insult. The computer system actively analyzes what you just bought and intentionally prints coupons for the slightly more expensive rival brands. If you bought generic coffee, it will print a massive discount for the premium roast. They are not trying to save you cash. They are trying to permanently upgrade your lifestyle and force you into a higher spending bracket. The store is cleverly baiting you into developing a permanent, expensive new habit you never asked for. Now here's the real test. After hearing all 40, which trick are you still going to fall for next week? Don't act superior. Name the one you know you won't.
All right. So I see some activity in the chat here. What is going on? What have I missed? I don't ever want to go to the grocery store again. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, I do think that again, the narrator is being a little bit, exaggerating a little bit, but I do think that some of those truths are very much the same. I do want to point out something that they made a comment on. It is important to realize that there are certain laws that do govern language that goes on the front of products, particularly when we talk about words like organic and local. Those are governed by USDA regulations. Words like farm fresh, natural, healthy, those have they have very loose to no guidelines that govern their usage. So you do have to be careful. All right, I'm going to share our presentation and finish up here. Let's see. Brooke, can you see that right there?
Yep, looks great.
All right. So let's talk about what we learned. I will say that I have a whole publication that I'm giving you on sell by, best by, use by, and free by dates. These can be so confusing, you all. So please take an opportunity to look at that publication. Definitely, if you don't give anything out to your participants, consider giving that one out because it can be so confusing to understand all these different dates that we see on packages. Grocery stores are leaders in the loyalty program. And indeed, using that loyalty card, that grocery store card, can save you money. It's just important to realize that you are making a trade-off. For those, for that money that you save, you are making the trade-off of giving your information and your purchasing history to the company. And in fact, grocery stores have so much consumer data that really they don't know what to do with it. They use it in customer relationship marketing or CRM, and really the grocery industry has been a leader in CRM as well. I'm not saying to not use these because I think that they can indeed save you money and they're wonderfully convenient, but just know that there is a trade-off involved when you do use them. When it comes to buying produce, if you can buy in season, that produce will usually cost less. I really want to drive home the point, though, that fresh, frozen, and canned at the end of the day are all nutritionally the same. Frozen produce is just as good nutritionally as fresh produce. Canned produce is just as good nutritionally as fresh and as frozen. The only thing with canned is you do have to watch the the salt content of the canned item. But just because someone cannot afford fresh produce doesn't mean that they should give up completely on eating fruits and vegetables. Frozen and canned are very good and economical choices. Just like we had to watch that eye level zone, we also have to watch out for these end caps. These end caps are designed to promote products and to make you spend money. Many times it is not the cheapest or the best buy that's put on the end caps. Many times it's items that have a higher margin for the store. And you may notice that many times the products that are featured on an end cap, the similar products are often aisles away. So it makes it even harder for you to compare which one is the better buy. So be very careful when you're turning those curves doing the grocery shopping that you don't let those end caps stop you. And of course, skip those convenience foods. I was in a grocery store in North Knoxville the other day, and I won't say the name of it. And I looked at some pre-cut watermelon, and I thought, I'm always so busy between work and things after work that it would be nice to have this pre-cut watermelon. Oh my gosh, almost $10 for a plastic tub of watermelon. Convenience foods are expensive. You pay a lot to just save a few minutes. One of the things that I would encourage you is to have that budget in mind when you go to the grocery store. There is no shame in shopping with your cell phone and your calculator app pulled up. It can really help you stay on track and help you stay within your budget. In fact, it is really easy to just keep putting items into our cart without really doing the math of what we're going to be spending when we get up to the front of those registers. I do want to spend our last few minutes, though, talking about some savings on baby food and diapers, two very expensive items. For baby foods, there are some things that we can do to save money. One of those includes making baby food items ourselves at home. Also, being very careful and comparing the prices of pouched based items versus jar items, and buying in bulk when we are able to make our own baby foods at home. Now, there is an excellent resource that I have here. If you just remember Feeding My Baby, Illinois Extension, you will find this resource. This is a great website that was put together by the University of Illinois. We like them even though they're not the University of Tennessee. But their website has recipe ideas for making your own baby food. It has feeding tips for when to introduce solid food and how to introduce that food. This is a wonderful resource that's based on research-based information. Again, Feeding My Baby, Illinois Extension. If you Google that, it'll come right up. Great resource, great site with some more money-saving ideas. When it comes to baby formula, one of the things that I really want to drive home is never try to dilute that formula to stretch it. It's so tempting to do that. Also, formula is one of those things that when it's expired and it has to be thrown out. When formula has expired, we see that the nutritional quality of that formula starts to decrease and the spoilage of that formula starts to increase when it gets past its expiration date. So we're really, really strict when it comes to the expiration date on baby formula, and very, very important that we throw it out when it's past that date. Of course, saving money on diapers can be very tricky. One of the things to do, again, is to use those unit prices. So don't necessarily look at which box is cheaper. You really have to look at cost per diaper to see which one is cheaper. And if you have a membership or someone in your family or friend group has a membership to warehouse stores, you may consider shopping there or comparing prices there to see if you can find better bargains on diapers at those warehouse stores. Diapers manufacturers typically issue a lot of coupons. So getting on coupon listservs can help you save money by using those coupons when you're purchasing diapers. So our final takeaways really are this. We can make small, little changes when we shop for groceries at the grocery store. And those little changes will add up over time. And they'll add up into savings that really translate into more money in our pockets and pocketbooks. We really have to be aware that when we go to the grocery store, there are marketing tips and tricks to try to get us to spend more money. Again, we saw 40 of them today. Again, the narrator was kind of being over the top with his language, but grocery stores know what they're doing and they know how to get us to spend money. The more we can plan, the more we can go with a grocery store, the more that we can go to a grocery store with a plan, the better off we will be, and we will not fall victim to those tips and tricks. And then finally, being consistent. Consistently trying to save money is better than perfection. We all mess up. Goodness knows that I have been lured in by many, many impulse buys in stores as I've shopped for groceries and other items. It's going to happen. The thing is, we just need to be aware and always strive to keep that grocery budget within our allowance and to really think about our shopping as we're going through the grocery store and getting the items we need. So, with that, I'm going to look at the chat and I will take any questions that we have before we wrap things up. So, let me take a look here. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Chase, for putting that in there. Costco is the cheapest, Brooke, you said that you found per diapers.
Yep. It ends up being like 5 cents a diaper, I think, and it's
Wow. Wow. Wow.
no, and they're actually pretty good quality. But I know there's not Costco's across the state either,
Yeah.
so that's the issue for some of our
Yeah.
folks, unfortunately. But yeah, y'all feel free to put any questions in the
Put any
chat.
questions or anything you have in the chat for us.
I think earlier, Carla said, I don't ever want to go to a grocery store again, but that just speaks to, I think everybody can feel convicted, right? Like, oh man, they've got me on
Yeah.
this, or they've got me
Yeah.
on that. And so this was an awesome presentation for us personally, but also for us to help families. I think this is so timely and important, Dr. Sneed. So thank you so much for taking the time to walk us through this, but also to think about the baby items and things that,
Sure.
unfortunately have extremely inflammatory markups that our families are having to
Yes.
purchase and navigate. So
Yes, yes, indeed. Well, I appreciate it. It's been a joy being with you all. I always find this to be so interesting. Again, I am a nerd when it comes to this stuff, but thank you all so much. I hope you have some resources that you can use with your families. You have the Feeding My Baby website, and you have the resources from us here at UT Extension. And as always, thank you all so much.